Okay, what is up, guys? Thursday, August the 11th, 2022. Appreciate you all tuning in. We are live. Chris Phillips here, the Daily Crow of the Spurs Up Show. What is up? I see John Edwards, see Youngblood, Todd Smith, Chase, Connor McCormish, Eric Reese. What's up, man? Appreciate y'all tuning in. Again, we are live. Very excited to chat with you all. A ton to get into here on this Thursday. We're taking your questions, your comments, your calls as well. 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Again, guys, very excited. Also, if you're in the Big Cock Club Discord, head over to the TDC Questions channel. The TDC Questions channel. Be sure your questions are answered there. Again, really pumped to chat with you all. We got a big day today. We've already had a big day. Todd Smith did a super chat. Appreciate you, Todd. Thank you, sir. Yeah, if you guys want to support the business, support the channel, support everything we do, and you're on YouTube, you can do so through super chat, super stickers. And again, we do appreciate that. Cayman, what's going on? Appreciate it. What's up, Cayman? Appreciate you tuning in. Noah Johns, my guy, John Rice. John, will I see you tonight in Fort Mill? That is my question. I tried to call you yesterday, and you did not even reply to me. I'm a little bit hurt. Courtney, what's up? Daniel Graham, appreciate y'all tuning in. Again, we're taking your questions, comments, calls. Guys, in our second hour, of course, you probably saw it on social media, but in our second hour, J.C. Sherbert of the Big Spur will join us. He will join us for the first time for his Thursday spot, 1:15 to, we'll say, 1:40, 1:45 or so, 1:40, 1:45, something like that. So really excited to have JC on weekly, excited to get his thoughts on everything, South Carolina football, and yeah, going to be a lot of fun. Going to be a lot of fun getting his perspective. Also, of course, we all last night watched the Welcome Home South Carolina football ESPNU thing, which I thought was cool. We've already recorded the podcast for tomorrow because, of course, we got a very, very busy day. I'm first stopping by Columbia to pick up a new batch of towels, and then we'll be heading to Fort Mill tonight. Carolina Ale House, Fort Mill. Really excited. We'll get everything rolling at 6 o'clock, we'll say. Probably do a Q&A around 7 or 7:30, and we'll just kind of go from there. Should be a fun night, great night of fellowship. I will say this. I really wish I would have had the schedule, or I would have just known the schedule or thought about it, because I know tonight also is the Carolina Panthers Fan Fest, and I hate that those things are conflicting. I'm sure there are probably some Gamecock fans that are also Panthers fans that want to go to that Fan Fest, and if you go to it, I'm not gonna hold it against you. I'm not gonna hold a grudge or anything. But hopefully we have a good crowd tonight. I think we will. I think we'll have a good crowd. I know John Edwards going to be there. I mean, we got John Edward there. Who else? Whenever it's going to be a good time. Going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. And again, the Ale House tour has been a blast. It's been a blessing. It's been a huge success at this point. I expect nothing but the same tonight in Fort Mill. Dusty Rhodes, Mike Yuva's hit the transfer portal. Yeah, Mike Yuva. Which I'm really happy for Mike. Congratulations to Mike. Mike's going where he's always wanted to be, which was back in Boston. Obviously, Mike is a Boston guy, as we all know, and, I've talked to him behind the scenes and everything. And, I think, obviously, he certainly grew to love South Carolina and love the Gamecocks and love being on the beat for USC. But, again, his blood runs for the Patriots, the Celtics, the Red Sox, all things Boston. So I'm really happy for Mike because, again, it's really cool in life to get to, cover a team you love. I mean, I can speak firsthand. And so the fact that Yuva will now get to do that is a really cool thing. So congratulations to Mike Yuva. Going to be weird with him no longer. I mean, he did say he's going to cover Gamecocks football this season remotely, though. So I don't think he's just like going away, right? Like Mike's going to cover Carolina football this season. But, going to be a little bit different. Obviously, he's not going to be in Columbia anymore. He's not going to be in Cola, not going to be on site, on scene, whatever. So, yeah, congratulations, though, to Mike. I know this is a big deal for him. I know he's probably super stoked, super excited, and I'm happy for him. So, again, guys, want to hear from you, taking your questions, comments, calls. Again, we've already recorded the podcast for tomorrow. Really exciting podcast. Really exciting podcast as we begin the 2022 Position Unit Preview Series as we talk Gamecocks quarterbacks on the show tomorrow. And I tell you what, this Position Unit Preview Series, I think, is just a great way to take us into kickoff. It's a lot of fun getting you guys more familiar with this roster and this football team. And obviously, tomorrow's show, you could just nickname it the Spencer Rattler Show because that's what we talked about the entire time. But anyways, really, really good stuff, really fun stuff. And we'll discuss that more, obviously, on the Daily Crow tomorrow. But again, we got a lot to get into today. Let's dive into your questions. Brian Dean, what do you think of last night, the Welcome Home on ESPNU? I mean, I thought it was cool. I thought a lot of it was regurgitation from stuff we posted on social media. The feature on Marshawn Lloyd was really dope, seeing his recovery and all that. But it was kind of light as I expected. You know what I mean? I mean, I figured they were probably just going to take a lot from events that had already happened and just sort of highlight that, but things that we literally have already seen on social media. So, I mean, it was cool. Don't get me wrong. It was really, really cool. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can't wait for next week, and it's awesome to, it's just something else to get us fired up. Not that we need anything, but it's something else to get us fired up. But, I thought it was cool. Highly suggest if you missed it to go back and watch it. They're going to re-air it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday night at like 9 o'clock. So if you couldn't check it out last night, I highly suggest going back. It's just cool, man. Again, it's something to fire us up. And I think it's honestly what it served as is a great advertisement for South Carolina football. Really, truly. Let's see. I think the point is it's going to be great for recruiting, right? It's not the most entertaining thing in the world, but it's going to be great for recruiting. Brandon Wagner. So, like, there was nothing like crazy interesting that came about necessarily. You know what I mean? There was nothing like crazy interesting or earth-shattering or groundbreaking or anything like that. You know what I mean? But it was fun. It was cool. It was cool. And I don't think either, like, when, it'll be interesting to see what do they dive into anything specific when they get into like fall camp stuff and all that. But I think it's just going to be very high-level overview, show off the facility, show off Beamer, show off the program. I thought it was cool getting some film from Beamer talking to his coaches in their meeting, seeing some of their core values on the wall of the indoor facility, things you just don't normally get to see. But, yeah, so I'm looking forward to the rest of the series. I think it's going to be really, really dope. Let's see. Cayman says, moved my daughter back to school yesterday, rode by the stadium, saw Todd Ellis walking in the stadium. Sometimes you forget how big that guy really is. Yeah, Todd's a legend. Todd's a legend. John, hope to see you there tonight, my guy. If not, totally understand, but hope to see you there. Hunter Johnson, how do you feel about the Columbia NIL thing that got posted? Just another way for the players to make money. And so I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. I'm all about the players benefiting from their name, their image, their likeness. And I would say this, and I don't worry about this, but as long as it doesn't take away from play on the field and it doesn't take away from them performing, I got no issue with it at all. And again, I don't believe that's going to be an issue, but I'm just saying, I don't mind it. Hey, get your money. Get all you can. So, AJ, let's see. Travi, losing our commitment to Florida still keeps us top 25 of the linebacker. Yeah, we're 20th, Travi. Travi, we're 20th. We only dropped 2 spots. Yeah, that's the news we'll get to. Jaden Robinson decommits from South Carolina and effectively commits to the Florida Gators. I mean, guys, listen. Number one, if you've been listening for a while, you probably knew this was coming because the kid's from the state of Florida. His hometown, that's his hometown school, right? But, guys, live by the sword, die by the sword. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. You know what I mean? When a guy flips and picks us, we love it. We're like, oh, recruiting's so great. Recruiting's awesome. We love when a guy flips. So you just can't be a hypocrite and say now, oh, you hate recruiting. Commitments mean nothing. Guys should do this. I mean, let me ask you this. Are you concerned about rival fans when a guy flips from them to us? Y'all don't care. Nobody cares. So if you love it when you get a flip, you have to understand that flips are going to happen. They just are. They just are. They just are. Like, it's just the nature of the beast. When you play the recruiting game, sometimes you win, and a lot of times you win with Beamer, but sometimes you'll get burned. Sometimes you'll get burned, and it just happens, and you just got to keep it moving and just sign the best 25 guys or so that you can and go to the transfer portal, and, I mean, just go from there, man. I mean, you're never going to land them all. You're just not. You're just not. And I literally posted about this last night and talked about it on social media. We've been very active on Twitter, and you guys have been very engaging. And again, you can really tell the season is right around the corner. I mean, you can tell it's right around the corner when I just feel like I can feel the energy and the emotion and the electricity ramping up, and it's a really, really cool thing. But I mean, listen, guys they're going to decommit, they're going to flip. It just happens. So you just got to live with it. You got to live with it, and it's the nature of the recruiting game. If you don't like it, that's just tough because that's how it works. So I got to laugh out of people saying like, oh, they shouldn't commit until this, or they should make them sign a this, or don't call it a commitment. It's like, guys, I mean, again, you love it when we get a flip. You don't question his commitment level, do you? You don't question his commitment level. So Tyler Jennings says, where can you find the Welcome Home episode to rewatch it? I think maybe if you've got like Watch ESPN or like on demand, maybe then you can cut it on, but it'll re-air tomorrow night at like 9, and then Saturday and Sunday. I don't know what times, but it will re-air over the weekend. I would just check ESPNU is the channel it'll be on. I would just check there. So Trip, yes, sir. 23 days. 23 days. 23 days. John Edward ordered some Beamer Rattler merch today. John, thank you, John. Appreciate you. He says, I'm not a Panthers fan, so it doesn't conflict for me. Good. I'm just saying, though, if I had known that, I probably would have done Augusta today and then Fort Mill next week just to not conflict, but it is what it is, man. Whatever. If people want to go to FanFest, so be it. So be it, whatever. All we got's all we need, right? All we got's all we need. We'll have a good time tonight. I'm really excited, looking forward to it. Excited for Fort Mill. AJ Bowers, I understand it's Florida, but I'm just wondering how Florida's getting all these 4 stars all of a sudden. Like you said, AJ Bowers, it's Florida. And I mean, are they throwing the bag? Like, yeah, the Gator Collective exists for NIL, so I'm sure they are. But AJ, you can't even complain anymore. Like that's the funny thing when I see people like, oh, they paid him, they threw in the bag. Everybody's throwing everybody the bag, and it's common knowledge now. So if you're not throwing the bag, then you only have yourself to blame because now you can do it. So, and yeah, it's also Florida. So, and he's a Florida guy. So, Todd Smith ordered some towels. Todd, thank you, Todd. I'm actually picking up the towels later today. I will get the next batch shipped out by end of day tomorrow. So, Hunter Kelly says, looks like that tat is going to be on that ass this year. Well, Hunter Kelly, we got to go win 10 games first, my guy. We got to go win 10 games first. So, we got to go win 10 games. Brian Dean, Chris, do you see where we are the 7th ranked class in transfer players? That was for last year, right? Right? Not right now. But for last year, yeah, we killed. I mean, we crushed on the recruiting or on the transfer portal side of things. We crushed it. Yeah, we crushed it. Cayman says, our running back room could be the best since 2011. Cayman, my only thing is that, listen, I know you're fired up after watching the show last night, and I like Marshawn Lloyd too, but I feel like people said this last year. Let me ask you this. Is the running back room better this year than it was last year? You're talking about the best since 2011. I mean, Kevin Harris, Zaquandre White, Marshawn Lloyd was on this team last year. Juju was on this team last year. So I would ask you, do you think this year's running back room is better than last year's? I don't know that you can say that. So you're talking about best since 2011. I think that's aggressive, my guy. I know you're excited for football, and it's so funny. It's so funny how early in the preseason we're driven by logic. But as we get closer, as the countdown shrinks in days, emotion takes over for where logic is. And that's why you start seeing some of these predictions skyrocket. Like, we've literally reached the point of the preseason where people are picking 10 games as a serious pick. And I respect all picks. Again, I'm not going to spend this entire show today doing that again, but I just woo, it's just aggressive. Let's see. Nah, Pup's not going to flip. We're fine. We're not going to flip. Todd Smith throwing me the bag, the NIL bag. Todd, I appreciate you, my man. You're my guy. Thank you. Cayman, I think Juju, Christian Beal, Smith, and Miller. Dude, you think Dante Miller's going to play? I mean, listen, I love the kid that he's fast, but is he not like RB5? I don't even know if I don't even know if Miller's in the rotation. I mean, I know he's fast, but I just – have you heard anything differing that's saying he's going to be like a starter or like going to get a lot of reps? Or, I mean, whose carries is he taking away? I mean, you got Juju, Lloyd, Beal Smith. I mean, then you probably go Lavoisier, then Rashad Amos is there. Where's Dante Miller fit into that? Yeah, returning kicks would be cool. Obviously, something to let him utilize his speed. I can almost see Dante Miller being like a Bryce Sherman, you know? Be like a Bryce Sherman. Just use track star speed to make plays. That's it. That's all we need you to do. Hold on to the ball and run as fast as you can. That's it. So, James Kendall says, this year's running back room's better. Lloyd and Harris had health issues. Juju was a freshman versus a sophomore. Fair enough. That's a good point. The Harris back injury was really hurt us last year. That really hurt us. I just was posing the question. I just feel like every year I hear like, this is the best this we've ever had. Like I've been hearing about that about the defensive line forever. I've been hearing about that, about the defensive line. How many years in a row have we had a great D line and it hasn't panned out? I mean, here we go. AJ Bowers over under 500 rushing yards for Lloyd. I got to go over. I have, I thought Christian Beal-Smith was RB1, and he might still very well be. I'm starting to come around. I do think Lloyd is going to be the guy. I mean, he seems like he's healthy, and that's the only question. It's like if he's healthy, I think he's RB1. I think it's going to be a lot of Beal-Smith too, though. Like I think they're going to split a lot of carries, and Beal-Smith's a little bit bigger of a guy, more of a short yardage guy, whatever. And I love his game. I'm definitely going over for Lloyd, though. I'd be at 500. I'd be pretty surprised. I'd be pretty surprised if Lloyd was at under 500. That to me would say he did not have a good year. Somebody asked earlier who's going to the Arkansas game. We will be throwing a watch party for the Arkansas game. I will not be in Fayetteville. So hopefully those who are going make the trip, paint it garnet and black, and bring home a W. That's it. Kelsey Quarles. What's up, Kelsey? He says he thinks the D-line struggles have been coaching. Okay. That's coming from Kelsey Quarles. I wonder if Kelsey, which he's obviously tuned in, I guess I could just ask him. Jimmy Lindsay fan? No. I talked to Brad Lawing about him, and he said he liked him. Said that the biggest thing that his because coaches coach coaches, right? His biggest feedback for Lindsay was to practice faster, get more reps in. So they weren't getting enough reps in. So Cayman Lightsy, well, we have 2 receivers over 800 yards. I mean, that's bold, but it's not too bold. I mean, I think if Rattler has the type of year I think he's going to have, listen, you think out of Van, Wells, and Bell, the only thing I say is, like, we have a lot of weapons, right? I think one guy goes over 1,000. I'm willing to say a guy goes over 1,000. 2 guys. If we have 2 guys over 800, we had a really, really good year. I'll say yes. Barely over 800, the other one, but I think one guy goes over 1,000 and one guy's like at 800. So, which again, I think will be a great year. Because you just think I think of Josh Van last year and Bell. They had like 550 and 650 respectively yardage. It's like, dude, like one of those guys is going to hit 1,000. One of them is. Like now you've got a quarterback. I don't know. Let's see. Guys, again, questions, comments, calls. Hope to see you at Ale House tonight. Carolina Ale House, Fort Mill, as the TSUS tour continues. Really exciting stuff, man. We got a busy day. We got a text here that says, is it true when you transfer to another team you can start this season, or do you still have to wait a certain time? Well, so right now players can just transfer and play. I don't know if you can even transfer right now, though. I don't know if that's a thing. There is a cutoff date for transfers, so I don't think you can just go right now. But yeah, no, it's wide open, dude. Transfer portal, there's no sitting out anymore. So AJ Bowers over under 400 yards receiving for Stogg or Bell. You think Jaheim Bell's going to finish with less than 400 yards receiving, my guy? We did not utilize him at all if he finishes with less than 400 yards. Yeah, Jaheim Bell's going way over 400. I don't know about Stogg, but Jaheim Bell is way over that. Brian Dean, here's a bold take. Clayton White had top 10 defenses at Western Kentucky. It's year 2. His defense will be top 15 in the country. Brian, I'll take outside top 15. I think we're a top 50 defense. I think we're probably around 40 or 45, kind of where we were last year. I don't see this defense top 15. Brian, until we stop the run more consistently, I'm not putting those type of expectations on the defense. I'm sorry. Just not doing it. Top 15 is too aggressive, my friend. Cade, who's tight end 1? I'd say it's Stog. I mean, do you list Jaheim Bell as a tight end? He's kind of like the hybrid Swiss Army knife. So I guess if you listed him as a tight end, he'd be number 1. But I think Stogner's tight end 1. I'm excited for Trey Kenyon, man. I'm excited for Trey Kenyon. I think Trey Kenyon's a guy who sort of slept on the offense, can be great in the run game, can also do some things in the pass game. I'm not saying he's going to go off this year, but I think he's a solid player. Daddy-O, I hope our DBs play better in the simulator. Yeah, it's a video game, thank goodness. It is a video game, thank goodness, indeed. Indeed. Yeah, I see some people bringing it up. Jaden Robinson decommitting last night. Jaden Robinson decommitting last night and committing to the Florida Gators. I mean, guys, it is what it is. It is what it is. It's recruiting. Live by the sword. Die by the sword. Live by the sword. Die by the sword. I tell you what, though, the Mike Yuva news. That's great for Mike Yuva. How does it affect Gamecock Central? That's tough. That's a tough loss for them. That's a tough loss for them. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, when you talk about they're based off of, having talent or whatever, talented guys, and I think Wes Mitchell and sorry, I just got a text. Yeah, so I think Wes Mitchell and those guys do a good job, but losing Yuva, that's tough. That's a tough blow. That's a tough blow. Yeah, Mike Yuva, Alex Mitchum is taking a freelance job, a freelance gig in Boston. So he will no longer be in Columbia. I think he said that they're going to allow him to continue to cover the Gamecocks throughout this season because he's doing freelance in Boston. But, yeah, he's out. He's out. Mike Yuva has hit the transfer portal. Oh, Chris Clark. I say something different. Yeah, Wes Mitchell, Chris Clark, all those guys, which they do a good job. Brian Dean says South Carolina will average 34.6 points per game, give up only 12.3 points per game on defense. Brian, we do that. 12.3. 12.3 points per game on defense. Brian, I got double that. I think Carolina gives up 24 points per game. So where's the disconnect with you and I? Where's our disconnect, Brian? Let's talk. Let's chat. Let's talk. Where's the disconnect? Why do you think what am I missing? Somebody texts in, not sure if you've seen the Rally Up promotion selling season tickets for $150, $165, including the Georgia game. You get to reserve two games at a time. But why wasn't anything like this being promoted while previous staffs were here? I haven't seen that. Where is that at? Anybody want to drop the link? Rally Up? Is that what it is? Rally Up Gamecocks football tickets? I see Catch a Game. I have not seen Rally Up, though. Catch a Game is a very big deal for them, though. Austin Moore says, where's James from the other day? I don't know. Let me get into your questions, guys. I feel like I'm kind of falling behind here. Is anybody in the big – oh, here we go. Big Cock Club Discord, too. I apologize, guys. Tons of questions coming in. Craig Phillips says, let's go. Can't wait to see what the calls will be like today and how long until the 10-2 talk starts. He says, I can feel it this year. The Waterboy room is the best we've ever had. Love it. Yeah, that'll be the difference. That'll be the difference. Here we go. AJ Bowers, which away game do we struggle with the most this year? Good question. It's funny. I've got us with a lot of close losses on the road, right? because I've got us beating Florida. I got us beating Kentucky. Like, I have us playing very well on the road. Very well on the road, right? Because I've got us beating Florida, beating Kentucky, beating Vandy, and beating Clemson. God, I might have to go back and change my damn predictions. Holy shit. I didn't realize I was winning 4 road games. Clemson could be a struggle. Arkansas could be, I'll be honest with you guys. So many people are fired up. I'm fired up too. I felt like I was being kind when I picked that Arkansas game. I hate the matchup, guys. I hate it. Arkansas with 4 or 5 guys back on the offensive line. They've got KJ Jefferson. What is there about this football team until I see it, what tells you we are going to not struggle against the run? It's the same guys. I mean, it's practically the same players. You've added a few here and there, but we're asking guys to step up and do something they didn't do last year. I think we will be improved in run defense. Are we going to be ready in week 2 to do that with a physical Arkansas team? I don't know. I don't know. I think that'll be the difference. I think that's why Arkansas will win the football game. You got to set the tone first in week 1, and it really doesn't matter what you do in week 1, but I think you really need to set a precedent in week 1 of we are improved up front. We are improved. We can stop the run. That needs to be a thing. Because, dude, if you give up 200 yards rushing at Georgia State, just mail it in. You ain't got a chance in Fayetteville. Granted, I say that, and week 1 doesn't define everything, because look back at 2007. I'll just never forget week 1 of the 07 season. Week 1 of the 07 season, you gave up 260 yards rushing to Louisiana Lafayette, right? Who recalls that, right? Gave up 260 or 270 yards rushing to Louisiana Lafayette. The following week, you turn around and beat Georgia. You stuff no Sean Moreno and that attack. So week 1 doesn't tell everything. Don't draw conclusions from week 1, but I think it's really important. I think it's just really important for just psyche going into weeks 2 and 3. Let's see. Rebecca, what's going on? I see you tuned in. Thank you so much. Jacob Edwards says Arkansas is the number 1 team in the West this year. Brian Dean said, this defense will remind you of the defense we had when Swearinger was knocking heads. R.J. Roderick and Cam Smith will control the skies like our Air Force. Brian, how are we going to stop the run? That's my only question for you. How are we going to stop the run, my guy? How are we going to stop the run? That's the key. It ain't nobody. The secondary's fine. How are we going to stop the run? That's my question. Got to stop the run. That's where it all starts. Stop the run. Here we go. I'm glad you're bringing this up. Hunter Johnson says, I think we have a better shot at home against Georgia than at Arkansas. Georgia lost players on both sides of the ball, and Arkansas returns most of their front. I disagree completely. Which game do we have a better shot to win? Week 2 at Arkansas. And I think the reason people will say Georgia is because we beat them in 2019, and folks have this idea in their head because we pulled some miracle win off against them in 2019 when we were 24.5-point underdogs. People feel like we're that pest. We're that thorn in their side. I get it. And those games are crazy. They tend to be. But, guys, they're really not, though. To a degree, they're look back at the history of this series. South Carolina, since 2014, has beaten them 1 time. Once. And it was in 2019, and it was bullshit. It was a fluke. I hate to say that, but, guys, it was the most absurd victory in school history. 24.5-point underdogs. It was the most improbable, head-scratching, mind-blowing game. Bullshit wasn't the right word. I take that back because I don't want to take anything away from our football team. But it was the most just hard to understand, hard to comprehend game. Outside of that, though, Georgia's had her. I mean, they've whooped us. They've whooped us since Spurrier left. I mean, they really have. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen this year. That's not what I'm saying. But to say that we have a better chance to beat Georgia than Arkansas, you're giving too much credit to Arkansas, in my opinion, and you're giving us too much credit against Georgia. I view Georgia. Listen, I know they lost a lot, man. I get it. They're still elite. They're still elite. They've still recruited at an extremely high level. They're up there with Bama, dude. They just won the national title, for God's sake. And they're not, I love our guy Walker calling in. I don't think Georgia's going to drop back like an LSU did. They've still got, somebody was commenting, you think Stetson Bennett's going to beat us? Dude, they beat us by 27 last year. Like, why do you act like picking Georgia to beat Carolina some bold pick? I mean, I picked in the preseason Georgia to win by 17. And I'll say this, too. That's one thing I've seen with the preseason predictions, guys. Because if you go through mine, I really feel like I tried to keep things realistic with the scores. I've got a couple double-digit losses in there. I've seen a couple 9-3s, even 8-4s, but 0 double-digit losses. Do you think that's realistic? Like, I think there will be a double-digit loss somewhere in this season. That's just going to happen. For Carolina to go 8-4, let's say, and lose all 4 by single digits, I mean, you'd have to be a really good football team, right? And there's some things, I mean, that's the beauty of college football, right? There's just some things you cannot predict. There's some things you cannot predict. You can't predict losing 44-14 at Texas A&M. You can't predict losing by 27 at Georgia. You can't predict getting shut out 30-0 against Clemson, right? So, and I'm not saying that those things are going to happen, nor that you should expect those things, but do you really think we're just going to lose to everybody we lose to by single digits? Is that not a little aggressive? You don't think we're going to have one bad game? Like, do you not think we're going to have one bad game? That's all I'm saying. The crowded booth, which he said, we just previewed South Carolina on our channel. Our take is that inserting Rattler elevates this team 1 or 2 wins. Thoughts? That's fair, yeah. I think that's absolutely fair. I mean, I've picked Carolina, crowded booth. Again, thank you for tuning in, crowded booth. I've picked Carolina to go 8-4, 4-4 in SEC play. I've got them beating Clemson at the end of the season. And I do think whether it's 1 or 2 games or however many, I think there are a couple of moments this season where Spencer Rattler puts the team on his back and South Carolina wins a game because I look at the game at Kentucky. I think Rattler outduels Levis. That's why the Gamecocks will win. Bottom line, point blank, end of discussion. So I think there will be a game or 2 this year, like you're saying, that will give Carolina a dub where otherwise they would not have one just because of his play. So I do agree with you, and I see you said you just subbed. Thank you. I will sub back after this and would love to come on y'all's show. Yeah, absolutely. Would love to come on the show, man. I'm always down to talk Carolina football and talk Gamecocks and just talk ball, man. It's always a blast. Let's see. We have not stopped running a long time. That is a very good point. That is a very good point. By the way, I want you guys to know how much I value you all tuning in and the banter and the questions and the comments and everything, because I remember when I started the Daily Crow and I told myself, like, if nobody comments, I'm not going to do this, because it's like I already do a podcast. I don't need another outlet to just rant, right? And I know I go on rants, but you guys inspire all of it. You inspire all of it. So I just want to say thank you, man. The beauty's in the banter, and I really do appreciate it. Connor McCormish in the TDC Questions channel, the Big Cock Club Discord, says, I think we struggle with Arkansas on the road the most. Said it's early in the year. They're a good team with a rowdy environment. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you. Matt Jones says, he says, haven't been able to watch live lately and comment live, but people, like you said, need to take practice with a grain of salt. I mean, with Mo and Debo taking first-team reps, I mean, it's practice. Don't think they would beat out 2 6-year guys, but they could be one person going into starting first and second string, going to go back and forth in practice. Yeah, I agree with you, Matt. I mean, it's not like they set the depth chart on Tuesday or anything like that, right? So, I mean, again, just take it with a grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt. I mean, it is what it is. Like, I mean, there are some things certainly, like after the scrimmage Saturday, right? Like, we might be able to pick up some things, or like the depth chart starts to come together. But I mean, I think until we get that depth chart week 1, which we will get, just take it with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? Like, the number one goal of fall camp is just nobody get hurt. That's it. As long as we come out of fall camp healthy, that's it. Blake Miller If Cade Klubnik takes the job at Clemson, do you still expect a Carolina win? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. You're telling me a true freshman's better than Spencer Rattler? No. No, absolutely not. I can't believe he doesn't have the job already. Honestly. I think it's impressive that Dabo is sticking by his guy. I almost kind of respect it. So, Braddock 843 says, "Do we run 2 or 3 linebackers?" Well, Clayton White runs a 4-2-5, so I think we'll go 2 linebackers. I mean, certainly they can be multiple and switch in and out and whatever. But that's the base defense for us is a 4-2-5. So, let's see. My guy DGD, what's up, man? I mean, listen, guys. I'm not sitting here saying that it's impossible to beat Georgia. Carolina's done it before, but obviously, guys, I'm all about Spencer Rattler. I'm all about Shane. I'm all for it, but there's still a significant, and that's why I say, like, I'm not going beyond 8-4 in predictions, because I just don't think this team is there yet on the line of scrimmage to go week in, week out and push people around, right? I mean, guys, we saw it, like, again, the beauty is that it's not all predictable, right? The beauty is that it's not all predictable. So, like, we saw it last year. Do you not think there's going to be a Missouri game this year where things happen that just don't make sense? We gave up like 260 yards rushing to Mizzou, and we ran for 56 yards. Do you really think there's not going to be a game this year where we have a game we rush for less than 100 yards? It's going to, that's why I'm saying, guys, when people say the 10-2, the 11-1, like, do you really think on a week in, week out basis we are going to play at an elite level? Like, do you really think we're not going to have some off weeks, some off games? I mean, it's not realistic. We are not that much more supremely talented, right, at every position. We're just not there. Like, I don't know how you can even debate that. And it's okay that we're not. It's year 2. But we're not a 10-win football team, man. We're not a 10-win football. I think it's just, and that's not a hot take either, guys. That's a normal, sane human being take. And so Steve Hester chimes in. Steve Hester says, "I honestly think we start 0-4 in the conference. We're getting better, but I'll take 7-5. But I'll tell you this, Steve, and I had a conversation with a good buddy of mine, my guy Jay, my guy Justin. We had this combo for hours. We've had this combo multiple times. I've locked in my predictions 8-4, 4-4 in league play. I'll say this, though. There's so, and I've locked in Mizzou as my most important game. There's so many important games on the schedule, though, right? I got Mizzou most important for the sake of the overall 2022 season. I've got Arkansas as the biggest swing game. Right? You beat Arkansas, to hell with my predictions. To hell with your predictions. Who knows? Kentucky, I think, is the biggest inflection point, right? The season's going to go one way or another. I think to get to 7 wins or more this season, I think you have to start 4-2 or better. Guys, let me ask you this quick. Let's just, hey, since we're Cocky Twan, and I wish the guy James Reynolds was in here and others, Brian Dean, since we're playing and I'm willing to play this game, the hypothetical of what if we win 10 games, which is a fun hypothetical. It's much more fun than the one I'm about to present. So if we can play that one, though, let's play the other way. Let's say we lose to Arkansas, which there would be no shame in. Let's say it's a close loss. No shame in that. Arkansas is going to be favored. They're at home. They're ranked. No shame in losing to Arkansas. Would we agree? It's not like you lost to Vandy. No shame. Lose to Georgia at home. No shame in that. Defending national champions. They're still elite. They're going to win the East. No shame in it. Let's say you lose to Kentucky. They're going to be favored over you. No shame in that, right? I mean, it's going to hurt. It stings. We hate it. But there's no shame in that. But what is going to be the mood of this fan base if you're sitting there at the bye week at 3-3 and 0-3 in conference, with Texas A&M looming coming out of the bye week, staring at a 3-4 and 0-4 start in league play? I'm not saying you won't win another game the rest of the year. And I don't doubt the abilities of Shane Beamer and this coaching staff to keep his team motivated and combat adversity and stay together. But this fan base and this program and this team is going to be so mentally shot and so mentally frazzled. I mean, can you imagine being 3-4, 0-4 in league play going into that Mizzou game? Looking for your first SEC win in the month of October. Some of you might think what I'm saying is crazy, but guys, it's just as likely that happens, or it's just as crazy that happens as South Carolina winning 10 games. If 10 wins isn't too crazy, then 6 isn't too crazy. They're both crazy, right? To some. I'm just saying, if you're sitting there at that mark, like, what is the overall mood? Where's the fan base at mentally? Because I just don't think it's going to be good enough to be at that halfway point and say, well, I mean, we've beat the teams we're supposed to beat, and we've lost the ones we're supposed to lose to. And is that good enough? Is that good enough? I don't think with a Rattler and with a Wells and with a Stogg and with a Dawkins and with a Reed and with the guys you've added and the guys you brought back, I don't know that that's good enough. And there's going to be a lot of people that are shaken up. These people that have had these 10 win, even these 9 win. Even, listen, guys, I'll be furious. I'll be fired up. I'll be right there with you. 3-3 at the halfway point and 3-4 starting is not, my good friend Brad Crawford, he's picking that. He's picking a 3-4, 0-4 start in SEC play, and the Gamecocks win 4 straight SEC games down the stretch. I think that's aggressive. I don't see this. I mean, I can most certainly see wins over Mizzou, Vandy, duh. 4 straight down the stretch. That seems aggressive. I think it's pivotal to beat either Arkansas or Kentucky. I mean, God, if you beat Georgia, obviously that's a huge win. But I think splitting Arkansas and Kentucky, I think that is a major key to this season, right? Right. I think it's too aggressive to expect. I mean, if you start 3-4 and 0-4 in league play, this team's shot. I mean, this team is so mentally shot. Because then you start, again, I don't question Shane Beamer's ability to hold this team together and combat adversity, but I mean, losing takes a toll, man. Losing, unfortunately, can affect people. And you start with the finger pointing, you start with the this, the that. Marcus Satterfield's seat, by the way, if we're 3-4, 0-4 in league play, going to be, I don't even know if there's an adjective to describe how hot it would be. Scorching isn't enough. Marcus Satterfield will be the most hated man in Columbia if we're 3-4, 0-4 in league play. That's not a hot take. People are going to be irate if that's the case. But again, it's just a hypothetical. And I don't think it's going to happen. I think you beat Kentucky. I do think you beat Kentucky. I think you start 4-2. Again, I just think that's necessary to hit a 7 or an 8 wins. I think it's necessary. So, on that note, guys, we're going to go ahead and jump into a quick break. I want to continue to hear from you, though. More of your questions, comments, calls, and more on the other side. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. All right, guys, we're back. Taking your questions, your comments, your calls. 843-790-3377. Again, guys, make sure you get your questions in because at 1:15, J.C. Sherbert of the Big Spur will join us to talk kind of football. Really, really excited. Really excited to hear from J.C., his thoughts on Spencer Rattler, the 2022 season, everything. Again, this is going to be a weekly spot. This is not just a one-time thing. So we're going to have a great conversation, great banter. I might even ask him, like, what's it like, the message? What's it like dealing with the message board, folks? Like it's basically just another form of Twitter. You know what I mean? But either way, it's going to be a good time. Excited to get his thoughts on kind of football. And obviously those guys are locked in on fall camp and stuff like that. And scrimmage this Saturday and really, really good stuff. So going to be exciting. Cody Gaskins. Oh boy, here's some perspective. Y'all can throw your tomatoes, direct your tomatoes at Cody Gaskins down in Somerville. He says 2-6 in SEC play is very realistic.
Call from
Robbie Davis, a.k.a. Kirk Herbstreit.
Robbie, appreciate you calling in, man. What's going on?
Hey, I just wanted to call in real quick and just say, okay, I just wanted you to know that I am a man of my word, okay? If we somehow, by a miracle of God, win 10 games this year, your boy's going to have a bald head, okay? I'm going to have a bald head. You're going to have a butt tattoo. I mean, I highly doubt we're going to have to do either one of those things. But I feel like at this point, you and me are going to have to, at some point at the end of the season, we're going to look at the people that said we're going to go 10-2 and be like, we tried to tell you. You didn't listen. We tried to tell you 7-5 and 8-4 is more realistic, and you didn't listen. We tried to tell you.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm getting a beer and ball ass tat if we hit 10 wins, and I'll gladly do it. I'll record the whole thing. Twitter will see a side of me they've never. Social media will be a side of me that they have never seen before. That's a fact. And a side of me they may never want to see again.
Well, I ain't never seen it, and I already know I don't want to see it. Okay. No, you can keep that to yourself, okay? I don't want to see it. but I watched the Welcome Home thing last night. I thought it was very well done, even though a majority of it I've already seen. But I did think it was good. And I feel like if we are 0-4 and there's no debate, there's no question. If we're 0-4 in conference play to start off the season, Satterfield's seat will be unbearably hot. Unbearably hot. And I still stand by my statement. I will go to Columbia and help him pack his crap if we are 0-4 in conference play. I will literally help him pack his crap and send him back wherever he came from. I do not give a
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you're 0-4 in SEC play, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine the offense has performed to a level that would make you feel. Oh well, I guess we lost Robbie. I don't know, we lost Robbie. Anyways, yeah, no, I agree with Robbie and everything he said, and obviously Satterfield's seat's going to be outrageously hot. So. Anyways, let's see. Tommy Wallace, how do you think Sherrod Green plays this year? What do you expect? Hopefully he's healthy and we'll be back to his potential and expectations of last summer. I mean, getting him back is huge. As we saw last year, though, when you have a guy like coming off an injury, we saw Marshawn Lloyd. It's not just always a given that they're going to be back 110% to their normal selves. So I've got high expectations and high hopes for Sherrod Green. I do. I've got very high hopes for Sherrod Green. I think he helps. I think he helps us for sure. I think he helps us, no doubt. Brett Russ says, true or false, Harris ran for 1,000 with the same O-line base, but we used a fullback for blocking. I mean, listen, I don't think that's the only thing that happened. I think that 2020 was a weird year. Not trying to take anything away from our line, but I think it was a weird year. Teams couldn't really practice physically the way they did before. And listen, Mike Bobo knew how to draw up a run play. He knew how to draw up some run scheme. But beyond that, it just not much. So, I mean, that's the thing, guys. We ran for 1,000 yards. We won 2 games. So what does it really mean? I don't think that means this O-line is going to produce a 1,000-yard rusher this year. I think we're somewhere between what you saw in 2020 and what you saw last year. I mean, I think we're better, obviously, than we saw last year. I mean, we can't be any worse. But I just don't think we're some elite O-line. I think we got guys that are limited talent-wise, and I think we got some guys that we got some good players, but we've also got some guys that are limited. That we just the only way – I think there's issues up front that the only way you solve them is in recruiting. I mean, that's just bottom line, guys. That's bottom line. Robbie said the call dropped. No worries. Okay. Jacob Edwards says, I'd rather have a 3,000-yard passer than a 1,000-yard rusher. Let's see. How do y'all feel about Cody Gaskin saying 2-6 is realistic in SEC play? That hurts. That hurts to think about. Really, it truly does. That hurts to think about, Cody. That does. Travis says 0-4 conference start, and we're going to see the ugly side of our lovely fan base. We will be so insane, dude. It will be, oh, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think, Travis, of what the Daily Crow will be like if we start 3-3 and like that week after the Kentucky game. I mean, there are going to be people on edge. That's putting it so lightly. On edge, my friend. On edge. Yeah. Especially, I mean, again, for these folks that are picking 10 wins, man, I don't know what they're going to be feeling. Again, guys, in case you missed it, South Carolina football, that Welcome Home series that will re-air on ESPNU tomorrow night at 9, Saturday at noon, and Sunday at 3:30. So if anybody missed it, there it is. If anybody missed it, there it is. Oh, my God. Come on, Chase. Come on, Chase. Can't even read your comment, Chase. Rebecca says she thinks that South Carolina is going to beat Tennessee. Okay. Love it. I would love to see that. I think that's got a potential to be the game of the year for sure. Well, Joseph, Charles Bloom says it's tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. So somebody's wrong. It's either you or Charles Bloom. So I don't know. Tune in at 8:30 just in case, but whatever. It airs tomorrow night. Check your local listings. Brandon Wagner says, absolutely no way we start 0-4 in SEC play. Brandon, I don't think it's going to happen either. But you're not going to be you're going to be the underdog in all 4 of those games. No doubt. Like right now, if you were to find a line right now for all 4, you're a dog in all 4. And I'm not saying that matters, but you are. You are. It is 8:30 on ESPN. Okay, well then Charles Bloom is wrong. Attaboy, Charles Bloom. Stay hot, kid. Tommy Wallace, loading the box against our offense will not be able to happen like last year. That's a huge difference for our offense. Should it help our running game? Yes. Getting those safeties, keeping them safeties honest, right? Now you have the threat of a downfield pass, a downfield attack. Yeah, it should make a huge difference. It should make absolutely a huge difference for this football team. Yeah, I mean, you would think we shouldn't be nearly as one-dimensional. I mean, last year, guys, we got in a 3rd and long. Just forget about it. Forget about it. We got in a 3rd and long. It was over. Yeah, I mean, it was just flat out over, right? We didn't have a chance. So, I think that makes a huge difference. Jacob Edwards says we have the best chance to beat UK because of their play style, slow and churning. Plus, they lost their best player from last year in Robinson. Yeah, I've got that as a win. I think that I think Rattler again will outduel Levis. I think Rattler outduels Levis, and I think that the Gamecocks are able to get the W. I do. I think they finally take down Kentucky. I think Kentucky's a little bit overrated. I think Kentucky's a bit overrated. Joseph, Chris, yesterday you laughed when I said this documentary can build more hype around our team. And that one episode in, everybody's freaking out with Twitter about Lloyd. Did I say that? I don't remember saying that. I feel like I was probably talking about something else, but I mean, no, yeah, it's just it builds up the hype and excitement. I mean, it did it for me. I loved watching it. So I don't recall saying that. I'm surprised that I would say that, but I mean, no, yeah, I mean, I think obviously it's that's what this documentary. That's kind of the main purpose is to build up hype and excitement and energy around the program and continue to do that. David Witt says, I think the O-line is going to surprise you, Chris. Second year with same OC, therefore same terminology and scheme. Also, Rattler will do a much better job of protection calls at audibles line of scrimmage. They will look light years ahead of last season. Well, David, that's not saying a lot. David, no kidding, they're going to be better. No, I mean, listen, I think the O-line obviously is going to be better. The question is just how much. I don't think we have some elite offensive line. But certainly the steady hand of Rattler, it's going to help. I mean, guys, I'm picking Carolina to score 31 points per game, but I still just don't think the O-line is going to be elite, and I think there's going to be games where we get bullied. I think there's probably going to be games we get pushed around. That's why I don't have us beating Arkansas. That's why I certainly don't have us beating Georgia. That's why I don't have us beating A&M. Guys, A&M ran for 290 yards against you last year. I know that's the defensive line, but line of scrimmage, you got bullied around, man. You got bullied. So I think the O-line is going to be better for sure. Again, they can't be worse than they were last year. They literally cannot be worse. And I'm excited to talk to J.C. Sherbert about that because there's been a lot of talk about the O-line thus far in fall camp. There's concerns about the O-line. I've heard things about the O-line that are not great. So I think O-line is still, I mean, if you had to look at a weakness of our offense, it's the offensive line. Would y'all disagree? I don't think O-line's a strength. There might be some games this year we have to win in spite of the O-line. I fully believe that. There's going to be some games we have to win in spite of the offensive line. I'm not saying they won't improve, but they're not, let me put it this way again, they're not as bad as they were last year. They're not. They're not that bad. They're not a 1,000-yard rusher O-line either, though. I think we're somewhere in the middle. I think we'll have some bright moments. I think we'll have some good games, and I think we will not. My number one goal for the offensive line, guys, is this. Just don't have the boneheaded, blown assignments you had last year. I'm not expecting and asking this offensive line to pave the way for, the best rushing attack in the SEC or to give up 2 sacks all season. Just be consistent. Don't just let a guy free bull rush at Spencer Rattler. Don't have blown assignments. Don't have a Jasden Turnentine gif again where like he's just going back and the guy just runs right around him. Just know we can all agree on this part, right? We can live with the offensive line. If you're playing Georgia and the DN just beats you, just tip your cap. He's a good player. They're going to win sometimes. Defense is going to win sometimes. It just happens, bro. It's football. It's sports. You're not going to win every rep, but damn it, at least put yourself in a position to compete. When you can't even communicate, when you're missing assignments, you just can't live with that. You know what I mean? You can't live with that. So everybody be on the same page. I think that should be much improved with Spencer Rattler under center. I think having a consistent quarterback week in, week out, having the same voice, I think that should help that unit immensely. But yeah, I think you also have to keep the expectations for the O-line realistic. I think there's unfortunately just going to be some moments where we see some of the stuff we saw last year. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But I think we should be in a lot of instances able to win in spite of it. So, but I just don't see I don't see this O-line being like elite. It's the same players from last year, guys. It's the same guys. Same exact players. And I know terminology, second year stuff, those things are important, but in some instances, it's just the same guys. So, hey, listen, 129 career starts, whole 2 deeps back, 7 guys who have started 6 or more games in the season. Those things all sound great. They all sound great, right? But sometimes I think experience can be the most overvalued thing in college football, because I'd rather have a hotshot freshman who has a ceiling of being an NFL Pro Bowler, right, with no experience. I'd rather take that kid than a 5th-year senior who ain't never been worth a shit. That just his entire career has been average. And in 2 years, he's going to be selling insurance. You know what I mean? Like, I give me the hot shot freshman. I'd rather take my licks with that guy because he's actually got the talent. And I'm not trying to like call anybody out or say anything, but it's just the truth, man. I just think experience can be overvalued. Experience doesn't always mean productivity or you're a good player. I mean, I just hate to say that, but it's just true. It's true. Let's see. Here we go. Let's go to the phone lines here.
Call from
Brian.
Brian, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey, Chris, what's going on, buddy? I wanted to call in and give you the take on why I say we'll split with Arkansas and Georgia. Because I mean, like the schedule's daunting. I've looked at this schedule over and over, and we got different books broken things down. I think the noon kickoff's gonna be in our favor because we know year in year out Georgia has a huge offensive line. I mean, last year, if you watch the game, they pushed us around. Their O-line, they made holes. I mean, I could run through. I'm 400 some pounds. I could have ran through those holes. But I just really think that this team's gonna have a little chip on their shoulder with something out there to prove that beating UNC in the Mayo Bowl wasn't a fluke. Actually, if I was at that game because I saw you out there. But in that game, the offensive line looked pretty good. They seem to come together a little bit in that game, and hopefully they'll take some of that momentum from that game and carry it forward. I'll let's see comments out there, man. Like always, have a good one, buddy.
Ryan, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. And hey, like I said, I'm not saying it's impossible. I mean, we've all seen in the South Carolina Georgia series that crazy things can happen. That is my greatest concerns, line of scrimmage. And I talked about it on the podcast. It'll drop tomorrow, guys, because we're talking quarterbacks. A guy like Rattler gives you a chance. Flat out, he just gives you a chance in every ball game you play. So if Rattler has one of those days and we're clicking and the line can hold their own, I mean, listen, I picked this team to beat Clemson. So I'm not saying it's impossible to compete against Georgia. Look at the amount of people that are picking that upset. Right? It's going to come down to line of scrimmage, though. Rattler's going to have to play well. You need to get a couple of turnovers off Georgia. Here's the thing, guys. That's a game. If Georgia plays their A game, I don't think it'll matter how well we play. We need Georgia to have an off day. We need Georgia to do what they did in 2019. Let's not pretend like we just went to Athens and just whipped them and beat them. I mean, we beat them. Don't get me wrong, we did. But thankfully, Jake Fromm threw 3 interceptions to the same player. You know what I mean? Like some weird things had to happen, right? Some weird things had to happen. So, and I'm not saying they can't happen. We've seen it. I mean, Carolina, Georgia, man, we've seen it. We've seen it, but it will have to happen. Austin Greer says he thinks we have a better chance at beating Georgia than we do beating Clemson. Are you just saying that because it's at home? Do you think Clemson's a better team than Georgia? I mean, I disagree, obviously, but I mean, to each their own. I mean, I kind of throw them in the somewhat the same bucket. I know I've got Clemson as a toss-up, but, Clemson's got, I think, arguably the best defense in college football, the best D-line for sure. Clemson's a better team than Georgia. You lost me there, my guy. You lost me there. You really lost me there. I think Georgia goes undefeated. I think they're still elite. I wouldn't be surprised if they're back in the playoff. I think Georgia is for real. Clemson a better team than Georgia, Austin? Hey, I wish they played again. I wish they played week 1 again. I wish they played week 1 again. That would be a great matchup. I don't know. You lost me there. I don't know. I think also where the game falls in the schedule, I think obviously by the end of the season, we're clicking, we're rolling, we got it figured out. Week 3, I think we're still kind of figuring out who we are. But saying Clemson's a better team than Georgia, yeah, Austin, you lost me there, my guy. I'm sorry. You have a lot of hot takes, my dude, and you have a lot of banter, but that's one I just can't get behind. Anyways, guys, we're going to jump into a break. On the other side, J.C. Sherbert of the Big Spur. He will join us. Really excited to chat with him, talk Gamecocks football, the first of his weekly appearances on Thursdays. Should be a lot of fun. Guys, more of your questions, comments, calls, and more. And J.C. Sherbert from the Big Spur on the other side. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. Beautiful. All right, guys, we're back taking your questions, comments, calls as well. 843-790-3377. That's 843-790-3377. Thursday, August the 11th. And again, as I told you guys, huge developments with the Daily Crow is we now have a full weekly lineup. Monday through Friday, we're going to have special guests on talking Gamecocks football, everything in between. Excited for today's guest. We're going to go ahead and get him in here. JC Sherbert of the Big Spur. JC, first things first, let me say thank you so much for doing this. Absolutely thrilled to have you a part of the weekly lineup and get your thoughts and everything on Carolina football, especially as we get closer and then eventually into the season. So, again, appreciate you taking the time in. Again, I know my followers and our listeners, viewers, everything, they're excited as well. So I appreciate you taking the time in. What's going on?
Yeah, I always love to talk a little Gamecock football, college football, whatever. Going to go ahead and apologize for my hair. So, on my show, I've decided, I ran my mouth. And sometimes I run my mouth and I get myself in trouble. I decided I'm not going to cut it until the Gamecocks lose a game. So
Okay.
I hope that I kind of have long flowing locks, by the end of the.
I was going to say, we all hope you're like putting in a ponytail by about week 10 or 11.
Yeah, it'd be a pretty snazzy ponytail. I think a little man bun action, something like that. Yeah. But nah, it's so I know you see this big mop up there, and I wanted to explain that to people. But yeah, great to talk football. Yesterday was sort of a roller coaster of a day, but like I explained earlier to some folks, I think when you're dealing with recruiting, when you're dealing with injuries, like what happened with basketball and things like that, it's going to happen in sports. 353 days a year, there's not a game, or 352 if you go to a bowl. So, you're going to have to talk about stuff all the time, and sometimes bad stuff happens. But at least it may just be one day. And I thought yesterday too, though, with the ESPNU thing and stuff was pretty positive. I mean, that kind of got me a little bit ready for the season, especially seeing like the low angle of the Marshawn Lloyd spin move and all that. I missed just how good of a play that was on the spring game broadcast. So, lots of positive things happening. Probably going to hit, the next 2 weeks here. By the time I talk to you on the 25th, we're going to be ready for the games to start. It's like, I don't want to talk about practice anymore. But right now, everybody's excited, right?
Yeah, you get to that point. I was going to say, man, we're at that point where it's like I get about 2 or 3 weeks out. And I'm sure you're the same way because we spend so long breaking it down, dissecting, predicting, previewing, and like, God, I need some on-field things to talk about. So I definitely feel you there. We'll start there with the Welcome Home South Carolina football documentary. Obviously, I think a lot of it last night, which I expected, was some regurgitation from the preseason, obviously the spring game, SEC media days. I thought it was really cool, too, seeing inside the facility, Beamer meeting with his coaches, their core values on the wall. Just I'll let you take the floor, though. Just you already mentioned a little bit of it, but your major takeaways. I thought the Lloyd thing was really cool, too, actually seeing his recovery, seeing Josh Van with his family. I thought there were some really cool nuggets. But really, I viewed it more so as just a great commercial for South Carolina football, the culture Beamer's building, and, great, again, to use in recruiting.
Yeah, plenty of actual commercials in that one, too. I was kind of interested to be the University of South Carolina sponsored it. They were a sponsor of the show. But, I didn't expect to, be able to wind that episode back and break down the film of a practice or something like that. Because I those kind of things, they kind of – I call them the MTV-style documentaries from back in the reality bites, if you will. If you grew up in the 90s, you know what I'm talking about there. But it's one of those things where I did learn something. I mean, when and one thing that struck me that I picked up on that I really enjoyed or that I thought was a positive, Beamer talking about, okay, guys, we're not going to have the same exact schedule every day to where we're doing this on this day and this on that day. We're going to mix it up, throw some adversity at you guys, some surprises, because that's what happens in football games. Right. And I thought that was just kind of a very true thing. I think a lot of coaches, you ask them, they're kind of creatures of habit like we all are. And it's like, well, we're going to, this is the day we do legs and this is the day we do arms and this is the day we do Pascal. And it just stays that way. And that's fine. I mean, successful coaches have done that, but I thought it was really, when you think about Luke Day, the strength coach, and his out of the box thinking, and then Beamer saying that, I've always thought at the University of South Carolina, you have to be unique. I think it's why some coaches that have done really well other places have not done well here. But you think about the successful coaches here, Steve Spurrier and Joe Morrison, pretty unique individuals, right? They do things their own way. And I think that was another one of those signs that, Shane Beamer's going to be a little different. I mean, he's going to do things and think outside of the box and things like that. So I did learn that. I thought the human element of it, I don't know how much more Spencer Rattler can do to try to dispel the narrative that he's some kind of bad guy, very professional sounding, relaxed, seemed happy. Boy, Cam Smith's got a personality, doesn't he?
He and Juju.
Yeah, those two stole the show in a lot of ways. And, and you think about Josh Vann and just what he's been through at Carolina, a knee injury, promising freshman year, and then leading the SEC in drops. I feel bad. I wrote last year that if he'd catch 21 passes, that would really help the passing game. Lo and behold, he caught 43 and was open for more. Yeah. And, I know he recently had a child and, came back to, get even better and improve his draft stock and all that. So, just that story, I think, shows you sometimes these guys are human. Yeah. I think sometimes fans lose sight of that. I think sometimes they think everybody's just like a cyborg robot and goes out there and plays. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great infomercial for the South Carolina football program. Chris, I've covered national recruiting before I kind of retired from that in 2015, and a lot of kids don't even know there's an 80,000 seat stadium in Columbia. They just don't. It doesn't register with recruits, and they get there and they visit. That's why a lot of the former staff, the Spurrier staff, said if we just get them to visit, they'll be good. And that was before the facility. So, I think having a look inside of it and kind of looking and saying, oh, they play big time football in South Carolina across the country. I think definitely, that's Spencer Rattler. Yeah, I think that resonates with recruiting and really gives everybody a positive feeling about where this program not only is at, but headed.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Brad Lowing, obviously somebody you know very well, is a good buddy of mine too. And he literally told me, he's like, Chris, you get a kid on campus, we're going to get him. Like, you get him there for game day, we're definitely going to get him.
Yeah.
You feel really confident about your chances. Like, you get him inside of a packed Willie B, like, there's a really good chance of landing him because, like you said, there's some kids that just don't know about the atmosphere and Sandstorm and how electric that environment can be, especially when Gamecocks football is rolling. And you mentioned this football team specifically and Spencer Rattler. And I think Beamer has done as good a job as you can do about not making it all about him. You know what I mean? Because that's, we're talking quarterbacks tomorrow on the podcast, and you talk about the pressure that Rattler has. The pressure is so far beyond just a pressure to win for USC. It is pressure on himself to prove to himself he's that guy, pressure SEC-wide, nationally, NFL. I mean, it's all about number 7 this year. But just talk about Rattler, his game as a whole. Obviously, I know it was way back in December of last year when kind of picked him up. Your reaction then, your overall feelings through spring ball, now navigating fall camp, your expectations for him. I mean, how do you feel about with this football team with Spencer Rattler at the helm? What is the ceiling, I guess, for 7?
Oh, the ceiling's hot. Yeah, hot. He was the Heisman front runner a couple of years ago. Things go that well. I think I'm gonna hair down to my butt. But anyway, I'll be honest. When Rattler came out of high school, from the Phoenix area, I liked his arm. I thought he was good. I thought a lot of people unfairly compared him to Kyler Murray, which he's how 3 inches taller than Kyler. Kind of that same kind of accurate passing, strong arm, playmaker kind of deal. And he was going to Oklahoma. So I think everybody's like, oh, he's just going to be the next Kyler Murray. So I was a little concerned about sort of the hype. But then, in 2020, he lit it up. And I thought last year what derailed him and what derailed Oklahoma was, I think, in 2020, not a lot of teams played defense, right?
Right.
And he had a little bit more vertical, firepower there. He still completed 70% of his passes last year. He still won 14 straight games as a starter. And I think, too, I read this on the Big Spur today, Chris. sometimes, and we've seen it at Carolina in the past, when an offense isn't moving, the guy with wheels, the guy that can run, the guy that's that more of a dual threat, oftentimes comes in and sparks the team. I saw it way back when I was in newspaper business in the early 2000s with a kid named Reggie Ball at Georgia Tech. Their quarterback had cement shoes. Reggie comes in and it changed the season. So I think that Caleb Williams is a special player. I think passing wise, he brings a lot to the table as well as running wise. But, if you're Lincoln Riley, he comes in, he sparks the team. He can run. He made several great plays running this year. I think you stick with Caleb, right? Really didn't have much to do with Spencer Rattler. I thought when Carolina signed him, my initial reaction was, ooh, because you worry about an offense like what Marcus Satterfield's trying to run versus kind of a quarterback-friendly system at Oklahoma. But I think, that comes with maturity and putting in the work to learn it, and he certainly has. And then the more I heard about him, and when he did sign, when he committed, I got a call and it was like, hey, we met with this guy, talking about the staff, and they said, look, this guy's been served a big plate of humble pie. He is ready to come in and work, and we have no issues. And they were like, look, Beamer wouldn't have taken him had he not been comfortable. Right. They'd have probably gone all in on Max Johnson, who's at A&M now. So I thought, well, hey, here's a shot if he can do everything, and if they get some people around him, and they have. So I'm cautiously, you're always kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop around here. But I'm optimistic. Even things like the zone read run play, I think sneakily they're going to run Spencer a little bit more than maybe Oklahoma did. And they need that. You're going to need all your weapons to try to establish the run. And, a good arm. Josh Vann mentioned it. Man, it's nice to have somebody who can throw it in your breadbasket. So I think, hey, the key is you have him back there and you have the receivers they have. Teams cannot do what they did at Carolina early last year, which is stack it and dare you to throw, because you're not going to really be that effective doing it. And I think he certainly brings that to the table. So I am optimistic that he'll have a good year. I think there's a range. He can have a good year. He can have a great year. He can have an excellent year. It just kind of depends on how things shake out.
Well, and JC, what a lot of it comes down to, you mentioned for Rattler to hit those type of expectations is the offensive line play. And I thought something you said was really interesting, because I agree with you, and it's something we don't take into account enough, is that teams didn't play defense in 2020. Like, it was just like, it's weird. You didn't have, like really contact right going into the 2020 season because of COVID and the way practices were going. And so South Carolina produced a 1,000-yard rusher. You can't take that away from the O-line. Then you look at what they did last year, and it just took all of us by surprise. Like, how can they be so bad? I think the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle, but you have, again, a unique vantage point. And I know offensive line play has been a very hot topic of conversation on your boards this week. I'm not asking you to give us a play-by-play description of what's happening at practice, but honestly, your overall gauge and feeling on the line. Because, I think they're obviously going to be better than last year, but it's like, how can you not be? I mean, if they just know their assignments, they're going to be better than they were last year. But I still don't look at this line as it's like some elite group, elite unit. I think there will be, it's one reason why I picked Arkansas to beat South Carolina. I don't love the matchup. 4 or 5 guys back up front for them, and they'll be ready. Sam Pittman will have them ready to go. Matchups against the likes of Georgia, A&M, like these games you go in. SEC play, you just need those guys up front on a week in, week out basis. So a lot of what Spencer Rattler is going to do this year, which in turn will lead to what this offense is going to do this year, it just simply put all comes down to that offensive line.
Yeah, it does. It especially with what South Carolina is trying to do on offense, that with the system they're trying to, I guess, implement, it does require your line to be at least competent. I think there's no excuse. I didn't think there was an excuse last year, to be honest. I was a bit critical, because I was like, with the guys they had coming back up front and the backs they had, it seemed like it was being treated like a year zero situation where, we're going to install this complicated system over 2 or 3 years. And I'm like, well, there's all these guys are veterans. Why are you, but thinking about it, they did have 3 different offensive coordinators in 3 years with 3 different schemes. I mean, B-Max was different than Bobo's for sure. Bobo's was different than what Sapp wants to do. So, I think it's fair, and they did get better. And I think it was interesting last year, Chris, because the guys that really struggled were not like your Vershawn Lees or Tyshawn Wanamakers who hadn't played a whole lot. It was your Dylan Wanhams and Eric Douglas and Jovan Gwynn and those guys. So, I think there was some confusion. They did get better. They have 139 starts returning. You have some old dudes on that line, man. You have grown men up there. There is no excuse, none, for them not to at least be better. And I think the offensive play call, the passing game, things like that, that can help them a little bit, be a little better. But I just don't. I'm not buying that. This group can't be significantly improved. I don't think they suck. I've seen all of them individually play well at times. And in the second year, you expect some growth as far as assignments. So I know everybody panicked because Mohamed Kaba comes unblocked in a drill, and everybody's like, but most of the time you don't send your linebacker off the edge. The first grade, Clayton White's probably trying to get him ready. So I wouldn't panic too much about that. We'll see. But I agree. I mean, if they can just step up, and it will not be perfect, but if they can just step up a little and give the backs room to run, protect Rattler, it can be a night and day different year on offense.
Now, JC, speaking of the defense, do you think it's just a given that South Carolina is as good, if not improved, on what they did last year? Because my greatest concern is this. It's interesting, though, how nobody's really talking about the defense a ton. And just like I said, it's an assumption that – and I think it speaks to, again, what Clayton White, Torian Gray, Jimmy Lindsey, entire defensive staff did last year, doing so much more with so little, I guess you could say they had. I mean, they turned Jalen Foster, who was a walk-on, into an All-American. I mean, it's like – so I think he's earned, at least after year one, the benefit of the doubt and saying, hey, he's going to put a high-level defense on the field. My greatest concern, though, I guess, is losing a Foster and your big play guy that produced all those turnovers. This was a defense that made a living getting the ball for people. 24 turnovers last year. And I hate to compare like the previous regime to this current one, but like we've seen this before where 2017, you get to 9 wins, you get a bunch of turnovers, right? That's how you made your living in the following year. You didn't quite get those turnovers, and not all things were equal, but you just didn't quite get the turnovers at that rate. And it was like, okay, is the defense actually really that good, or were they right place, right time a lot of the time? And again, you beat Michigan in that bowl game, and you got 5 turnovers off the Wolverines, and that's why you won that game. So when you look at this defense, again, for you, is it as simple as, you trust in Clayton White, trust in Torian Gray, they're going to take a step forward? Do you think they're going to be kind of the same as what they were last year, which – I think run defense, line of scrimmage is obviously the thing that jumps out to you. But Shane Beamer seems confident. He's touted multiple times that he thinks the defensive tackles are the strength of the football team, not even just the defense. But just your overall feelings on South Carolina's defense going into this season.
Yeah, I got sort of a hot take on the tackles. I think Boogie Huntley's an upgrade over Jabari Ellis. Although I love Jabari Ellis and his success he had at Carolina and his career, his life, all that good. Mad respect for him. But, man, Boogie started coming on at the end of last year, and you look at him now, he's big as a house. He always had really good feet, I think he played soccer or lacrosse or something at Hammond. Unbelievable athlete for his size. You line him up next to Pickens, that's a dynamic duo right there. Carolina needs Jordan Burch to come on. Does Jordan Burch need to be Jadeveon Clowney this year? No. Does Jordan Burch need to be a much better version, a more consistent version of Jordan Burch? Yes. I think Jordan Strawn, I thought he was the best pass rusher naturally on the team last year. I think he's an upgrade over Aaron Sterling in that department. I know that sounds sacrilegious to some people, but that's how I see it. The ends have to get better against the run. Now, can Tyreek Johnson be a guy that helps with that? Probably. And then behind those guys, Shane's probably right as far as depth goes. You have Tonka Hemingway. You have one of those grown men in MJ Webb. And then they're really high on TJ Sanders and Nick Barrett, who are rising or redshirted last year. So they go about 6 deep at D tackle, which is going to be good. I think if Mohamed Kaba and Sherrod Green are the starting linebackers, or even if they, rotate Johnson in there, that unit will be faster and more athletic. Because if you start Johnson and Green, those two guys are a combined 47 years old. Kaba is a guy they've been trying to get on the field for a while. The secondary, I think that, everybody talks about Cam Smith and Darius Rush. And I think people lose this. Cam Smith didn't play in the bowl game. He was out. Darius Rush and Marcellus Dial played corner. Yeah. Marcellus Dial played just as much as Rush last year. So if they go with Cam at the nickel and Dial, and they have the luxury of having Dial and Rush on the outside and Cam in the middle of that defense, I'm not so worried about replacing Foster from last year. Now, you move Cam out to the perimeter, you got somebody else in there at nickel. You've got an R.J. Roderick out there, and everybody's hoping that he plays his best football ever, another old guy. And then Devontae Reed, I think, is a man. I mean, he's going to be a really good player. You got young guys behind him. The difference in people, I think the 2017 comparisons are interesting, and it's a valid point because, I think we all went into 2018 just assuming, well, and you asked me, should we just trust Clayton White to do it? No, I did that with Will Muschamp in 2018. I was like, surely they'll have a good defense this year, even though they lost everybody. And that defense wasn't worth a flip even before everybody got injured. And it ended up being, giving up 744 yards to their rival at the end of the year. I mean, they were depleted. So, I kind of learned then, don't just assume because X-coach is an expert on this side of the ball that'll happen. I think the difference between 18, though, and now is that expectations are a little bit lower just because that was close to the Spurrier era. Carolina wins 9, second year of Muschamp after doubling it the year before. And it's like, we're back, right? Mortimer, we're back, that kind of thing. And so you go in there, man, I picked 11-2. I got on that bandwagon, I
remember the 18 preseason was the Georgia game week 2, and that was that was looked at as like this is the game for the East, and then Carolina loses like 44.
Badly.
I was at the stadium. SEC Nation was on site, and
the hype go out. I was in a packed a place called Dive Bar in Atlanta. It was packed. Everybody was excited. I remember it was like 90 degrees outside, but that was just disappointing.
That was the pick 6 to like start the game off.
Oh God, yeah, and you're just like, wow, and
here we go.
It was like, oh, this isn't what we thought, because you thought, hey, Kurt Roper's gone now. This offense is going to go up and down the field, and it did at times that year. But not Georgia. It was just a mistake, just like a lot of the big games under Muschamp. Man, it was just like a lot of tight play, a lot of mistakes they didn't normally make, that kind of thing. And so I think the difference this year is there's a lot more returning veterans, I guess. A lot more returning talent, a lot more guys that have played a lot of football to go with the newcomers that are talented. Will Muschamp didn't have a transfer portal either, and so I think that's going to be an interesting dynamic to see. Carolina does have a big game week 2 out of Arkansas, so we'll find out soon enough. But I think there are some differences at the same time. I think anytime you have a defense that relies on turnovers almost exclusively, and it wasn't always that way, but most of the time, turnovers really helped. Those things all kind of even out over time, and so that I understand where people are coming from. I just think the personnel, if all goes according, people play up to their potential, all that kind of thing, is good enough to where you'll see the defense probably take a step forward rather than take a step back, even if they don't get as many turnovers.
Yeah, and I was going to say, JC, on the flip side of my question, I'm very optimistic because, again, you look at what Clayton White did and that entire coaching staff did with what they had, and they've got more this year. I think that's I think that's not a hot take at all. Before I get you out of here, JC, I'll ask you again, you talk about the expectations then, the expectations now, and that's obviously what matters. And certainly they overachieved in year 1, just getting to a bowl game. Over under in Vegas was 3.5, which I thought was disrespectful, but Either way, you get to a bowl game, you beat UNC in that Mayo Bowl, and you do it in very loud fashion, I might add, obviously. I've joked around, JC, that kickoff is getting very close because it's like you start the preseason, you start the offseason, if you will, with very grounded, logical, realistic expectations of, hey, this is year 2, and we got this, and this, and these are our questions, and they might go this way, they might go that way. But as we get closer to kickoff, the excitement level rises and the hype rises, and everybody can feel it. And the garnet glasses, I feel like the tint, they start to get a little darker as each day passes. And I've had people this week call into this show saying, hey, Chris, 9, 10 wins. Realistic expectations for you. I mean, I've got this team at 8-4, 4-4 in league play, and I feel like that's pretty optimistic. I think 7-5 seems to be the safe pick, and I'm not asking you yet to lock in a prediction. I know the Tito's and Chicken guys are getting that out of you, so maybe once you finish out giving your predictions, we'll talk about them. Maybe that'll be next week. But just realistic expectations. I mean, I feel like 10 is way too aggressive when you look back at last year and you keep perspective. And I understand there's been incredible upgrades. And I say this all the time, JC, that I'd rather have to talk people down like, hey, let's keep things in perspective than be like, hey, guys, it's football. Let's get fired up. Because at the end of the Muschamp era, we got to that point where it was like people weren't even really that excited for kickoff. And that's a terrible place to be in, right? I'd rather the hype and the expectations be crazy. But, I mean, what would you say to people who have those type of expectations? Because a lot of, I think, building a program is keeping expectations somewhat realistic, because if you're setting these unrealistic standards and expectations, you're going to be disappointed when you shouldn't be, and that's not a good place to be either.
Yeah, I think the folks that are saying 10, shoot, if they all stay healthy and the 5 stars play like 5 stars and the transfers are all good, you have a few breaks here and there, yeah. I mean, it could have
magical season.
You could have a magical season,
and I'll have a new tattoo on my rear end. So.
But here's the thing about the build, and I thought around the league, even look at Will Muschamp. Maybe not Steve Spurrier so much. He did improve his second year by a game, but Lou Holt's second year, Kirby Smart his second year at Georgia. I mean, a lot of second years go really well for guys. Right. That are new coaches in this league. Lane Kiffin last year was Sugar Bowl's second year. But and I look at it and I'm like, well, this build, right, is maybe not linear, because I'm a little more bullish on this year's team than I think I will be next year. Just because it's a unique situation. And so the people that are predicting 10 wins probably always predict 10 wins, right? But why do I think they could dramatically surpass expectations this year? Because we've never been in this situation before as college football fans. We've never had a COVID year where everybody got a red shirt. So now you got a bunch of 6-year guys walking around. You hadn't had a transfer portal that long, to where, you don't have to. It's not like when people used to load up on JUCOs. These are guys that played actual college football with full coaching staffs and stuff like that, be it at different levels, but they're still veteran guys. And you went and got 8 of them, I think there's just a lot of different options on offense, then you start asking questions. Well, who's the quarterback? Because you can have all that. If you don't have a quarterback, it's not going to work out. And lo and behold, it's Spencer Rattler. Do you have pass rushers? Yes. Can you possibly have speed at linebacker so some of those 28-yard runs people were making last year turn into 6? Yes, maybe you got it. Maybe you got that there. How about the secondary? Well, there's an All-American at one corner and a guy that nobody thought was ever going to play that people are now talking about being like a 3rd to 5th round draft pick at the other. And so I think about all that and I'm like, well, shoot, why am I not overly excited? And I think it's just I'm a creature of habit, and I got burned, and everybody got burned, or not everybody. Some people, to their credit, didn't like the hire to start with, but how many times during the Muschamp era did just things look a certain way, and then we find out total opposite? So I understand that, but it's hard when I actually just take the Gamecock blinders off and look at like who's, if this were another team I think I'd probably be a little more bullish. I don't know. So that's my thing. But I'll let you know what my prediction is. I promise. I won't keep that from folks.
But no, I would agree with you, JC, actually, on the outlook of this year compared to next year. And, this is not your typical year two. I think you and I maybe talked about that before, but it's not your typical year two when you got a guy like Spencer Rattler and you take advantage of the transfer portal in the way you did. So I think certainly there's plenty of reason to be excited, to be optimistic. And I know we all are, certainly. Last thing, JC, before I get you out of anything, I'll just give you the floor. Anything specific on the recruiting side of things? I know the Jaden Robinson decommitment flipped to Florida. Not something that shocked a lot of people, but anytime there's a decommitment, it's funny to see some of the fallout because it's like you love it when we get a guy due to a flip, but then fans hate it when it happens to you. But certainly the positive momentum, I think, is still there for Beamer and what they're doing on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, Chris, Robinson, to me, it's kind of ironic because Justice Boone from Sumter went to Florida a couple of years ago, right?
Right.
But look, if there were a kid at Sumter High School that Carolina had not offered, that had an offer from the Gators, and he went down there and committed, and whoopie-doo, I'm going to Florida, and then the Gamecocks offered him right before, I think everybody in South Carolina would expect him to ultimately flip back to the Gamecocks unless he was just one of these kids that wants to go out of state. Lake City. And all right, so the one big time guy from there that left the state was Laramie Tunsil. We all know what happened there. Somebody give me my gas mask, and so that's hard. That's hard. Outside of Lakeland, Lake City's probably the biggest Gator stronghold in that state. And so it didn't surprise me. Would it have been great for Colin to hold on to him? Yeah, but they're going to move on and try to get another linebacker. The Carmelo Taylor thing was like the biggest shocker because I'll tell you, none of the staffs involved with that kid thought he was committing to Penn State. I'll just leave that there. It was a surprise for everybody, including Penn State. But and to me personally, I really like Carmelo Taylor. I think he's got a chance to be a big time player. So that one kind of stung me a little bit because I was like, they should have gotten him. But looking forward a little bit, Xavier Mcleod from Camden, obviously, and I've been on the air and talking to you. So if the dates have changed, somebody needs to let me know. But I think it's sometime in the next 72 to 96 hours he'll commit. I think the Gamecocks right now, last I checked, are in really good shape. Vicari Swain from Carrollton, Georgia, speedy guy. They like a corner. Carolina's in pretty good shape there. And then the big one I'm looking at, and if Carmelo Taylor was my favorite target in this class, this guy's probably number 2. Desmond Zolo, he's from the Maryland, D.C. area where they've been recruiting so well. It's 50-50 Gamecocks and Ohio State. Ohio State's done some things where they've sort of messed it up a little bit. This kid's 6'6", 240. He's the edge rusher from the Spurrier era everybody covets. And going up there and getting another kid from DMV and beating Ohio State on edge rusher, give that to me all day. So I think that's one. He's supposed to announce August 29th, so right before the season. Gamecocks could potentially be getting huge recruiting news right there to carry on into the opening week of the season.
The Gamecocks own the DMV at this point.
Hey, man,
about that, man. I don't know.
Well, I mean, things are so touch and go in North Carolina right now. Right. It's funny because, some staffs that have been here, and I'm not good. Muschamp and those guys did an okay job recruiting North Carolina, really. But, some staffs like under Spurrier, there was a lot of excuses, shoot, we're not getting any guys out of North Carolina, but shoot, we don't have a lot of in-state talent now, so what are we supposed to do?
Right.
Oh, and he made it work, but, go elsewhere. Well, Beamer, I think, coming in, he's such a smart guy in recruiting, right? He's brilliant as far as, just plan of attack and where to go and stuff. And you got Pete Limbo, and they just said, okay, we're gonna recruit North Carolina, but until, we start getting in there and getting guys, and that may not be until Mac Brown leaves UNC or whatever. We're going to skip over. We're going to hire Maryland's director of player personnel, Taylor Edwards, and we're going to go to the DMV and fight. And there's so many good players there, man. I mean, it's a gold mine. If you could start getting 3, 4, 5 a year from up there, and then dip into Virginia. And then when North Carolina comes back, and I love what they do in Florida because you can get a 3-star in Florida that plays like a 5. We all know that. Yeah. And then they continue to kind of do what Muschamp did in Georgia by being selective and getting the right guys out of Georgia. So I'm encouraged by that right now as in terms of what they've been doing, kind of working north-south. And I'll tell you this, a key to recruiting up there moving forward is probably going to be how Marshawn Lloyd does the next couple of years or this coming year. He's such a popular player. Players tend to gravitate to schools where they see sort of the guys they grew up watching go and do well. Yeah. So I think that's something to watch this year as it relates to recruiting in the DMV moving forward.
Yeah, show you can develop, no doubt. JC, this has been a pleasure. I mean, like I said, I appreciate you doing this and looking forward to chatting with you each and every single Thursday as we navigate through the 2022 football season. Thanks so much, man. We'll do it again next week.
Thanks, Chris. It was real. I'm looking forward to next Thursday already, man.
Yeah, man. Looking forward to it. Great stuff, guys. We're going to jump into one final break, but I want to continue to hear from you. More of your questions, your comments, your calls, and more on the other side. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. All right, guys, we're back. Final 4 minutes or so here on the Daily Crow as we wrap up on this Thursday, August the 11th. I want to say again, thank you so much to JC Sherbert for taking time to join the show. He's going to be with us, like I said, guys, every single Thursday, 1:15 to 1:45 or so, just depending on how long we want to go. But he'll join us every Thursday, 1:15. Going to be a lot of fun. Again, I think it's going to drive a lot of great value to the show, guys, especially on the recruiting side, because I see many of you asking recruiting questions. And JC, without a doubt, got intel on the recruiting side that I do not have. So I'll be picking his brain when it comes to recruiting, prospects, crystal balls, all that good stuff. And like I said, man, it's a blessing for sure to have guests of JC Sherbert's caliber and just others as well. They're going to provide immense amounts of value to this show. Very excited. Looking forward to it. Again, every Thursday is when you can catch JC. Tomorrow, 12:15, we will have Jake Crane on TDC for the first time ever. He will join us. We're going to talk kind of football, of course, and certainly I'm going to come at him for the 5-7 prediction. I know you guys are going to give him hell too, but it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. And again, guys, like I said, it's all about driving value to you all and enhancing the listener experience, and I think we're going to be doing that with all these guests we're bringing on. Guys, be sure to stay tuned to the podcast tomorrow. Of course, TDC will be live, normal noon to 2. We'll be at Carolina Ale House tonight in Fort Mill. So I'm looking forward to that. Literally, we're going to get off here in 3 minutes. I'm going to get ready, head down to Columbia to pick up a new batch of towels. So continue to order those towels, right? If you're in person tonight at any of our Ale House events, of course, tonight we're going to have the towels and the koozies on hand for sale, $5 a pop. So we'd love to get those out to you guys. John Edward, I know I'm going to see you there. Other than that, guys, tonight in Fort Mill, we'll get going tonight at 6 o'clock. Probably do a Q&A around 7 or 7:30. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be a really, really good time. Looking forward to it. All the details, of course, guys, are on social media. If you need directions or need the address, whatever, it's all on there. So really excited for it. Excited to get down to Cola. And like I said, pick up that merch. And you guys continue to order the merch. You see, this is one I feel like that's underrated. The Go Fight Win Kick Ass shirt. This merch, I really like this merch. Also, guys, if you're not rocking with the Comfort Colors stuff, oh my goodness, you are missing out. The Comfort Colors is incredible. Yeah, I mean, outside of that, man, stay tuned to all the content. I appreciate y'all, man, the love and support. It's been incredible. You know, we've been feeling it. Also, guys, if you're not subscribed to the Daily Crow podcast, if you only catch bits and pieces of this, be sure you go subscribe to the podcast. Go rate, subscribe, like it, whatever you got to do. iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah, so really, really excited to now offer the Daily Crow in podcast form for all of those who cannot maybe tune in noon to 2, and also those who want to just go back and listen, because we're going to have so many great conversations and interviews and awesome guests and awesome calls and everything else. Definitely worth going back and listening to. Sonder days, yes, I'm driving from G Vegas down to Cola and then up to Fort Mill. It's actually not like, I mean, it adds probably 45 minutes to the drive, but I mean, it just, Sonder days, it has to be done. Like, I mean, I'm not going to go to Fort Mill without the towels. Like, you know what I mean? So I'll go down to Cola, up to Fort Mill, and then straight back to, I'm literally going in a triangle today, but just this was the time that it made sense to do it. And so, yeah, I'll be heading down to Cola literally like right after this. So anyways, guys, I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much for the continued love and support. Check out the podcast that drops tomorrow. The Position Unit Preview Series gets rolling. And, you know, just really excited to continue throughout the week. And stay tuned to all the content. Content is bleeding out the eyeballs. Again, guys, thank you to you all for tuning in. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the calls. Thank you to JC Sherbert for taking his time to talk. Appreciate all the love and support. And we will talk to you all tomorrow. See you tonight at Carolina Ale House in Fort Mill. Y'all take care.